What did Mark get in the mail today from his crooked mailbox? A project and a head gasket for Sherilyn's riding lawnmower. You're probably thinking, but Mark, how do you know there's something wrong with Sherilyn's riding lawnmower's head gasket? Sherilyn sent me this message while I was at work, and it reminded me of when the head gasket blew a few years ago, and by the time I got this message, she'd already finished mowing the lawn to answer that question. But that was all well and good, and so when I got home, I looked at the lawnmower and I could see the fuel pump, because it has the fuel line going to the carburetor, had like a bypass from the pressure hose that goes actually to the oil-filled dipstick tube. And the bypass was obviously spewing oil. It was on the deck area of the mower, and also it was dripping on the floor. So I had a feeling that the exhaust was pushing the oil right out through the bypass on the fuel pump and onto the floor. The mower now has 204.6 hours on it, so is it safe to say that on an average of 100 hours of use, the head gasket's going to blow up? Well, anyway, let's get to the video and see, first of all, how it starts hard, and when it does start, it puffs blue smoke. Now there's a special way to remove the hood, which the first time I did this, I didn't know there was a special way to remove the hood, and I undid the bolts that are inside here. First, I've got to unclip the connector for the lights. Just squeeze the side tabs, I believe, and it should, there it goes, pop right apart. And then there's a certain, if I lift a little bit on the front and pull it forward, there we go. So kind of up here at an angle, pull forward, and there, the whole hood comes off. There's the connector. And we'll just set that to one side. And here it is, boys and girls, the heart of the beast. Briggs Stratton 19.5 horse motor in this John Deere lawnmower. It's an LA115 model. But the head gaskets that I bought, I believe, are good for like 17 horsepower, 18 or 19, maybe up through 20. There were like 3 different horsepower ranges that this particular head gasket would fit. So this one here is a 19.5, 19.5. And so now it's time to disassemble some of the stuff. It's not huge, just some of it. We'll go over it here. But this is a very common problem with this Briggs Stratton model overhead valve engine. And I'll show you, once we get it apart, where the problem lies. All right, I'm going to try to call out the socket sizes and such as we go. I don't remember if the air cleaner cover has to come off or not, so I'm just going to take it off anyway. Looks like the air cleaner could use either replacement or a good cleaning with the air hose. And don't forget, inside here, there's this little fiber thingy that says remove to clean every so often, I'm sure. So we'll clean that out too. On the front here, we've got 3/8 bolts that hold this front cover on. I'll make sure we're in the right orientation here. And I'm just going to use this mostly to take it apart. You don't want to use these to torque up bolts or things like that, because you don't know what you're doing as far as the foot-pounds go. Got to remove the intake, and these are fairly long bolts compared to the 2 we took out so far, which have these little shoulders on them. All right, so that lifts that up enough so we can get at the rest of it. I've got a towel down underneath here. I didn't want to rev the engine up too much to show you how much it smoked and whatnot because I didn't want it to get too warm. It is fairly warm still, but I think we can handle it all right. So first of all, let's use the 3/8 and take out these valve cover gasket bolts. And when I put this back on, I used RTV silicone, which you can let set for, you put it around the edges, put the cover on till it seats, then just put the bolts in to center everything. Let it set for at least an hour. I let mine set for I think 3 hours, then tighten up the bolts gently to squish that RTV against the head. And look, not a drop of oil. So that method definitely works. I think, I haven't opened the package yet, but I think this package comes with a valve cover gasket. So we won't be needing the RTV, it looks like. Might be needing a screwdriver to pop this free though. Gently got to convince it that it needs to come off. There, and look at the smoke coming out. See, that shouldn't be in there. A little bit of oil. We got some cleanup to do and some cleanup here to do. Pull off the spark plug wire. Set that over to one side. Don't forget, we got to put that back on. You know what'll happen. I'll forget. Okay, as far as the exhaust goes, we got to take the muffler unit and these, along with the drill driver. These are really handy. Hex head, Allen type. This is a 1/4 inch and it fits snugly right inside the bolt heads of the exhaust. And there is an exhaust gasket in there. Not sure if the kit comes with a new gasket, so keep an eye on that. And this pipe, if I remember right, yeah, it just sets, look at that. It just sets down inside the muffler. On the honor system, that's all it does. The head bolts themselves, let me see, are these 3/8 also? Yeah, they are. So I'll get an extension. Looks like that's long enough. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's number 1. And we'll skip ahead to the last one. Okay, if I said 8, we've got 7 of them out, which should mean we've got 1 more to go right here. Let's see, yeah, we've got push rods right here, very similar to a Harley-Davidson push rod system right here. Goes into the camshaft. There they are. All right, now we got to get right in here. We get right in here and look at this. Yeah, look at this big intake valve, huh? Here's the exhaust valve up here, but let's get right in here. Right here, between the oil chamber and the combustion chamber is the weak point. See how that's scorched right there? See the blackness, the scorch of it? See how it's different than the rest of it? And it did tear here and some over here. Some of it stayed on the motor itself instead of on the head. But right there, that's where the problem occurs. The combustion goes into the oil chamber, the oil goes into the combustion chamber, and I'm guessing that's what a lot of this black gookiness is in here, is oil getting into the combustion chamber through this area. So there's the problem, Briggs & Stratton. You didn't put enough, either wide enough material, maybe the aluminum should have gone more around this way and wider material to separate the two, but that's exactly where it burned through last time, and here we are again today. All right, because this is aluminum, I'm going to be very careful, right? Very careful here. Just putting some WD-40 around. So while I clean the old gasket material off the head with a dull putty knife, and also off the engine block itself, let me just explain that Sherilyn loves to mow the lawn. She says it's her therapy. It gives her time to just think about nothing else but mowing the lawn. So that's why I've been fired from lawn mowing duties, and she's just right on cloud 9 with it. All right, well, here's what was in the kit. There are 2 gaskets, but I notice now they look like they're 2 different gaskets. This one's really thin through here, and then this one looks more round, thicker through here. This is the right head gasket. There's where it's supposed to go. Now the fun part. And that fun part is getting these push rods lined up with where they're supposed to go. Get the rocker arms out of the way and see if I can line these back up again into what feels reasonable. And then find out if I've got the piston anywhere close to top dead center, so that both valves should be closed. Might have to pull the head away from the motor just a little bit. Give it a little wiggle room. So I'll take a couple of the head bolts and snug it up. Just give it a little, well, probably we'll put on 3. How's that? And get some stability, maybe even 4. All right, we'll get some stability in here, and then turn the motor over by hand and see if the valves operate proper. All right, now we're not going to use the drill driver for final torque. We're just going to snug these up. And I've already started them by hand, so I don't strip the threads. On the first click, right there, we know it's pretty much level with the head. Got 4 head bolts in there. Give it a little turn by hand and see what happens. Oh, look at that. They're working, but there we go. So we were right between exhaust and intake, but let's go back to roughly top dead center. Compression. There it goes. There's top dead center. And we got this much play. Putting it back together is pretty much the reverse of taking it apart. I did find some specs on this particular motor online, and that included the torque of the head bolts, which was listed at 220 inch-pounds, and the calculator online converted that to about 18 foot-pounds. So that's what I tightened up the head bolts to. And I just snugged the valve cover up, with those 4 bolts. Just gently, gave it a good snug, and also used the supplied gasket. I was going to say factory gasket, but from the factory, that valve cover is put on with RTV silicone, and it does work very well. But I thought I would use the gasket since it was supplied, and if it starts leaking, I'll take it out and go the RTV silicone route. If I've missed anything, put it down in the comments below. It's always good for me to read comments and share that information with other viewers that might be here looking for tips and tricks on how to do this properly. And I'm sure I missed some things along the way, so maybe you've got some things to point out. Do so in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on another video, I hope.